problem is that no one's lining up. No one's going to watch this film.
She's also quoted in this article saying, "I'm a theater kid that got everything she wanted."
Ending star Rachel Zegler for the underperformance.
I mean, I've noticed it slowing down, but they're doing everything they can to revive this discourse over and over and over again.
She was then criticized for dragging her personal politics in the middle of promoting a movie.
Got so devastating for her that she had to turn to therapy and psychiatric medication to cope with how difficult this was.
What happens when a brand new Disney princess climbs the palace steps of London's West End and hears boos instead of cheers? One summer night, ticket holders inside the Gilded Palladium paid a small fortune to watch Evita, while a curious sidewalk crowd watched for free on the giant street-side screen. As Rachel Zegler leaned over the famous balcony and punched the air like a firebrand politician, the city gasped. Within hours, the clip raced across X, TikTok, and tabloid homepages. Headlines screamed that the mayor was furious. Petitions ballooned past 60,000 names, and whispers of an unofficial blacklist echoed through dressing room corridors. How did a theater kid who once sang show tunes on Twitter end up fighting for her professional life in the birthplace of Shakespeare? To understand why London turned so sharply against her, we need to rewind to the moment the spotlight first found Rachel Zegler. Rachel's origin story feels ripped from a feel-good streaming movie. 2018, suburban New Jersey, a 17-year-old uploads phone camera covers of Broadway standards to Twitter. One video, her crystalline belt on Shallow, explodes overnight, racking up millions of loops and landing on Steven Spielberg's desk. He's searching for a fresh-faced Maria for his lavish remake of West Side Story. Against 20,000 hopefuls, the theater club senior with 0 film credits wins the role. The leap from high school auditorium to Spielberg set is dizzying. She raps in early 2020, graduates over Zoom, and by the time West Side Story bows in late 2021, she's walking red carpets in Valentino. Critics hail her voice as silverlit. The Hollywood Foreign Press hands her a Golden Globe, and magazines crown her next-gen triple threat. Online, stan accounts bloom like wildflowers. Zegler Nation edits flood YouTube, and casting rumors swirl. Live-action Rapunzel, Wicked, even a Marvel mutant. With momentum roaring, Lionsgate signs her to headline the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. She dives into archery lessons and Appalachian folk vocals, earning early raves from set visit reporters who call her magnetic. By late 2023, the prequel hits theaters. Reviewers single out Rachel's performance as the film, gleaming backbone. The box office haul isn't a Marvel behemoth, but it's solid, and the industry narrative is clear. She's a once-in-a-decade talent whose only trajectory is up. Yet even in this honeymoon stretch, the first storm clouds gather. Her candid, sometimes fiery social media style, so relatable at 17, now collides with hyper-scrutinizing fandoms. Playful tweets about patriarchy spark comment section wars. Still, Hollywood shrugs. They see engagement metrics, not warning lights. So when Disney's casting department offers her the apple, lead in its live-action Snow White remake, everybody assumes the fairy tale momentum will continue. But accepting that Apple would drop Rachel into the internet's most toxic wishing well and pull her straight toward the backlash that awaited in London. 7 dwarfs, 1 internet fire. That's how a late-night host summed up the chaos that followed Disney's announcement in the summer of 2022. The studio trumpeted Rachel as the first Latina Snow White, historic, inclusive, crowd-pleasing. Instead, battle lines formed before a single frame was shot. On one flank, self-styled purists insisted the fairest of them all must remain porcelain pale. On another, advocates blasted Disney for sidelining little people actors after Peter Dinklage's viral podcast called The Original Tale, a backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave. Rachel tried answering with optimism, "We're rewriting a classic for a new generation," but every syllable became a screen grab. When she joked that she'd never found the 1937 cartoon romantic because girls don't dream of being rescued anymore, legacy fan accounts pounced. Hashtags like Not My Snow White and Go Woke Go Broke trended for days. Latino creators defended her. Conservative pundits mocked Disney's diversity checklist. Overnight, the discourse wasn't about music or costumes. It was about identity politics, Hollywood hypocrisy, and whether the Mouse House had just vandalized a childhood shrine. Production limped forward at Pinewood Studios, block shooting amid COVID protocols and rain-soaked British winters. Paparazzi photos leaked, from Rachel in a bold scarlet cloak to 7 full-sized background performers in peasant gear, sparking fresh outrage. Where are the dwarfs? Disney scrambled, promising a different approach, but the damage compounded. Every delay, every reshoot rumor, every new set pick reignited the arguments. Meanwhile, Rachel's DMs became a minefield. She shared, then quickly deleted, a screenshot of slurs and threats, captioned, "Y'all, it's a movie," that only emboldened trolls. YouTubers mined her interviews for proof she hated the original. Some cut montages of her laughing sound bites against shots of the 1937 princess cleaning the cottage, asking viewers, who's really disrespecting tradition here? Fast forward to premiere week, March 7, 2025. After starry red carpets and the usual Disney shimmer, the global box office coughed instead of roared. Word of mouth labeled the film gorgeous but joyless, preachy, even algorithmic. By weekend 3, trade analysts projected a $250 million production, sliding toward a sub-$210 million gross. Disney pivoted its marketing to streaming. Finance columnists called it a write-down in waiting. Rachel, now 24, braced under a pressure cooker. In an ID profile, she admitted leaning on therapy and prescription anti-anxiety meds just to face morning push notifications. She told the journalist, "Some days I feel like I'm trapped in a comment section that never lets me log out." Critics latched on, twisting the quote into memes, "Snow White too fragile for criticism." The same tabloids that once applauded her Spielberg debut now called her a cautionary tale of Twitter overexposure. By spring's end, she'd earned a sobering badge, the face of 2025's most polarizing remake. And while the box office bruises were still tender, Rachel accepted a role that felt like an artistic cleanse, stepping onto the London stage as Avenida Argentina's most contentious First Lady. She believed theater would offer sanctuary. Instead, it became ground zero for her next, and even fiercer, firestorm. But if the Snow White saga exposed how fast fandoms can turn, her political flashpoints would show how headlines can weaponize a single sentence. Red carpets were once velvet runways for Rachel, diamonds, couture, easy smiles. By late 2024, they'd morphed into tripwires. Reporters no longer asked, "Who are you wearing?" They asked, "Are you worried about boycotts?" Or, "Did your co-star unfollow you over politics?" It started with a 24-hour Instagram story. October 2024, midterm season in the US, Rachel reposted a cartoon of a burning ballot box with the caption, "Torch bigotry, V0T3 them out." She didn't name names, but commenters read the target loud and clear. Conservative outlets framed it as a Hollywood lecture, compiling celebs, telling you how to vote. Overnight, she trended beside senators she'd never met. 2 weeks later, at a press junket for Snow White, a British tabloid columnist asked whether she regretted mixing activism with promo. Rachel answered bluntly, "Human rights aren't politics." The clip hit Twitter, split into partisan camps, and racked up 12 million views in 48 hours. Then came the Middle East minefield. In early 2025, as conflict headlines dominated feeds, Rachel tweeted a white dove emoji threaded with "Every child deserves sunrise." Simple, ambiguous, but co-star Gal Gadot, an outspoken former IDF soldier, posted the Israeli flag the same morning. Bloggers stoked a Zegler vs. Gadot narrative, one accused of siding with Palestine, the other called a Zionist mouthpiece. Neither woman name-checked the other, yet clickbait thumbnails declared a feud. Disney PR reportedly slapped an internal freeze on geopolitical questions. On the Snow White global press tour, Rachel navigated tightropes. Mexican morning shows wanted to celebrate her heritage. US networks probed box office tracking. British outlets sniffed for royal family gossip. Every soundbite carried risk of miscontext. A single eyebrow raise could spawn a TikTok conspiracy that she hates the monarchy. Back home, YouTube commentators compiled Rachel's attitude timeline, stringing together her feminist one-liners, social justice retweets, and even playful digs at paparazzi. The edit painted her as arrogant, lecturing, ungrateful. None of the clips showed her signing posters in the rain or donating her West Side Story paycheck to Bergen Pack youth programs. Outrage, after all, outperforms nuance. Industry veterans warned her team, London theater crowds are conservative in their own way. They respect tradition, not Twitter sparring. Yet Jamie Lloyd's modernist Evita offered Rachel something irresistible, live vocal glory, a chance to prove she was more than a CGI-polished Disney face. She told The Stage magazine, "A balcony, a live orchestra, no filter. That's freedom." Freedom, yes, but also exposure. British columnists still reeling from what they called her identity politics princess expected fireworks. UK broadcasters teased interview segments with questions like, Eva Peron was criticized for mixing politics and performance. Sound familiar? Rachel laughed it off. She didn't realize how prophetic that comparison would feel. Opening night arrived. She stepped onto that balcony thinking about pitch, breath support, character truth. She didn't think about how one clenched fist, one improvisational roar would look sliced into a 6-second loop. She didn't think about how London's mayor, already under pressure to defend British cultural heritage, might seize on audience complaints to score points. She sang. She raised her arm. 1,000 phones recorded history or heresy, depending on who replayed it first. And once the footage hit social media, the arguments about dwarfs and tweets looked quaint. The backlash was now a full-blown culture clash played at maximum volume, with Rachel standing alone at center stage. "Don't cry for me" from outside the building. That's the tweet that detonated the night Jamie Lloyd's Evita opened in London. His idea sounded electrifying on paper. Drop the fourth wall, wheel the orchestra into the street, and let Rachel deliver "Don't Cry for Me Argentina" from the Palladium's stone balcony while the paying audience watched on an interior jumbotron, and anyone on Argyle Street watched for free. It was equal parts high art and flash mob spectacle. Minutes before curtain, crowds formed two camps. Inside, ticket holders clutching 250-pound programs expected a once-in-a-lifetime theatrical moment. Outside, TikTokers balanced phones on latte cups, hungry for viral fodder. At 9:42 p.m., the balcony doors swung open. Rachel stepped into the floodlights in a white bias-cut gown, hair slicked like old Hollywood lacquer, silhouette against the London sky. The orchestra hit that infamous E major swell. And then she rewired history. Instead of Eva Peron's composed wave, Rachel punched the air like she was leading a stadium chant. She belted the opening line an octave up, spun, and pointed at the crowd like a campaign rally. Inside, jaws clenched. Outside, cheers erupted, half awe, half amusement. 6 seconds later, a phone clip shot from a double-decker bus hit X the caption, "Evita or Che Guevara?" Within an hour, Balcony Gate trended in 26 countries. By dawn, tabloids screamed, "Mayor deeply disappointed, BY Hollywood stars stunt." Radio pundits compared the gesture to dictators past. Theater critics called it karaoke revolution. The Telegraph asked whether London had witnessed the moment Broadway TikTok swallowed the West End. Rumors flew that City Hall drafted a private letter to the Arts Council warning of reputational harm. Nothing official surfaced, but the gossip alone was gasoline. Rachel posted a midnight selfie, lipstick fatting, mascara glittering in streetlight, with the caption, "History doesn't whisper, it sings." Supporters called her fearless. Detractors called it proof she'd missed the entire point of Eva's nuanced legacy. By the second performance, hecklers shouted, "Stay on script." Each night security added another metal barrier between balcony and pavement. Ticket resale prices plummeted to half face value. Yet for all the noise outside, the real eruption was brewing backstage, where raised fists and viral memes gave way to side-eyes, slammed dressing room doors, and a WhatsApp war no one could keep under wraps. But if the balcony scandal showed London's fury, the leaked messages would reveal just how toxic the atmosphere had become behind the velvet curtain. When the mic cuts, the WhatsApp screens light up. The first screenshots drop 2 days into the run. Pixelated usernames, late-night timestamps, and scathing one-liners. She thinks she's Eva reincarnated unbearable. We're all props in the Rachel Zegler show. Walkout Wednesday. Who's in? No one verified them, but they felt too grimly specific to be fan fiction. Theater Twitter devoured every pixel. Company morale, already fragile from endless balcony rehearsals, cracked. Stage managers whispered that Rachel skipped fight call to rehearse new fist pumps. Ensemble dancers swapped eye rolls when she ad-libbed political slogans into choreography. One night she held a sustained high F past the cutoff, forcing the orchestra to vamp. The conductor was later overheard muttering, "This isn't a concert, it's a coup." Rumors swirled that Jamie Lloyd convened an emergency note session, urging discipline and textual respect. Insiders say Rachel argued that Eva was a lightning rod, not a saint, and that modern audiences deserved a jolt. The meeting ended with polite applause and clenched jaws. Hours later, a new leak surfaced. A production group chat poll titled, "Vote, Tone It Down or We Walk." 57 thumbs up, 5 silent. By week's end, house staff reported attention you could butter onto interval ice cream. Props went missing. Snap hooks mysteriously unlatched mid-scene. A wig dresser filed a formal complaint after Rachel allegedly refused fittings, claiming Eva would never wear government-issue hair. Management scheduled conflict resolution workshops. Attendance optional, morale mandatory. Few showed. Meanwhile, theatergoers felt the strain. review sites filled with comments like vocals stunning, vibe hostile. One viral TikTok stitched patrons exiting the Palladium to the audio of shattering glass. The clip's caption, "When method acting infects the whole cast." Industry blogs predicted a mass exit. Casting agents whispered that replacement talks had begun, names floated, none confirmed. The phrase, informal blacklist, crept from YouTube commentary into legit broadsheets. Some donors threatened to pull funding unless the production recentered its Argentine history instead of influencer ego. Through it all, Rachel kept posting inspirational quotes, backstage selfies, a cryptic lyric, "They'll try to dim the sun, it just sets the sky on fire." Each upload triggered fresh screenshotted groans from coworkers. Anonymous sources told entertainment reporters she's playing chicken with her own career. And yet, every controversy magnetizes new eyeballs. Ticket sales plateaued instead of plunging. International tourists queued just to witness the meltdown. Pop culture loves a car crash, especially one scored by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Still, the public circus was only Act 2. Outside the theater, fans were sharpening petitions, protest plans, and endless FYP edits, ready to turn backstage drama into a citywide verdict. The balcony scandal might have begun inside a single theater, but it didn't stay there. 3 days after the first leaked group chat messages, a London drama student named Alia Racha posted a Change.org petition titled "Keep Rachel Zegler Off the West End." Her argument was surgical. Eva Peron's legacy isn't a TikTok prop, and performers who mock history for clout shouldn't monopolize Britain's most hallowed stage. In the time it takes to finish a matinee, the petition crossed 10,000 signatures. By midnight it hit 60K, then kept surging, an algorithmic avalanche of red exclamation icons. Click culture strategists noticed something new. The petition wasn't just theater buffs. Signers included Latin American historians angered by Anglo showboating, social media moderates tired of performative wokeness, and even some hardcore Zegler stans who felt the backlash was dimming her talent. Everyone had a different reason, but their signatures stacked up in a single scoreboard against Rachel's name. British tabloids scented blood. Daily Mail, Evita or Ego, Star, American arrogance sparks revolt. Evening Standard, Mayor under pressure as anti-Zegler petition explodes. City Hall claimed no formal role, but insiders leaked that staffers were counting signatures just in case. Meanwhile, Jamie Lloyd Productions tried a damage control statement. The balcony sequence explores populism's visual rhetoric. Social feeds roasted the word salad. Then came the street theater. London College of Music students organized a silent flash mob across from the Palladium. 20 actors in 1940s suits stood motionless, each holding a placard with one line from Eva's actual speeches. No music, no chanting, just living statues confronting the razzle-dazzle across the road. Tourists thought it was guerrilla marketing until police asked the statues to disperse. Photos rocketed around the globe. A Guardian op-ed christened it the quietest boo in West End history. Inside the Palladium, tension turned physical. On night 11, a stagehand allegedly scribbled tone-deaf diva on a quick-change wardrobe rack. Rachel reportedly confronted him mid-corridor. Security escorted both to opposite wings. No punches, but the tabloids called it near brawl. The very next morning, a union rep for backstage crew floated the nuclear option, a walkout during a live performance. Ticketing sites braced for mayhem. Jamie Lloyd nervously refreshed Slack. Scalpers either slashed prices or doubled them, depending on their taste for chaos. Meanwhile, social media chess masters levied new pressure offline. Influencers announced a boycott of beauty brands sponsoring the show's gala nights. Some urged followers to leave one-star Google reviews for the Palladium until management protected historical integrity. Within 48 hours, the theater's rating slid from 4.7 to 3.8. That digital scar may heal, but accountants noticed. And because 2025's outrage economy never misses a remix, TikTok stitched Rachel's fist pump over footage of real 20th century coup speeches. Another viral edit used Mario Kart sound effects every time she jabbed the sky. Each meme drew new viewers, which drew new ticket buyers, which drew fresh outrage. The cycle fed on itself like a snake devouring its own tail, all fangs, no digestion. By the end of week 2, the petition blasted past 100 signatures. Parliament wasn't required to debate it. Theater policy isn't crown business, but headlines blared public demands action. And in a city where tourism leans on cultural prestige, image can bend policy faster than law. The mayor scheduled a closed-door meeting with Arts Council brass. No statements followed, but reporters clocked every grim face leaving the building. Cornered by signatures, memes, and potential strike lines, Rachel's team drafted a countermove, one that could either reset the narrative or torch the last bridge still standing. Damage Control in 2025 follows a familiar playbook: heartfelt apology video, tearful daytime talk show, small-budget prestige project. Rachel's camp, however, wanted a grander sleight of hand, something bold enough to distract but soft enough to soothe. Enter She Gets It From Me, an indie dramedy co-starring Marissa Tomei as a single mother and Rachel as her rebellious, guitar-shredding daughter. Shot on handheld 16, wrapped in April, poised for Sundance 2026. The premise looked tailor-made for reinvention. No CGI castles, no balcony fist pumps, just raw human emotion. Producers leaked stills of Rachel in thrift store denim, mascara smeared, strumming a battered Gibson. Trade blogs gushed Oscar bait, Twitter skeptics muttered image rehab, but curiosity is currency and Hollywood banks on it. Simultaneously, PR strategists floated a limited listening tour. Plan: Rachel would sit with London theater veterans, privately, cameras barred, and absorb critiques. Tabloids might still spin it, but insiders said the mayor's office would view it as a goodwill gesture, maybe enough to bury blacklist rumors. Her reps dangled the idea to columnists. Artistic growth is a conversation. Cynics translated. Let us finish the run in peace. Next move, a Vogue UK cover, lensed by Tim Walker, titled Rebirth. The concept, Rachel draped in recycled satin beneath wilted stage roses, aimed to signal humility. Charitable tie-in. Profits from a capsule jewelry line would fund dance scholarships in Buenos Aires. Good optics, sure, but also genuine. As a teen, she'd auditioned with Spanish-language folk songs. Fans still circulate the clips. But there was a wild card. Insiders whispered of an exit clause triggered by sustained hostile environment. If invoked, Rachel could depart Evita mid-run for personal well-being and still collect partial salary. Financially practical, artistically fraught. Depart too early and she'd confirm the diva label. Stay too long and the petition engine might gain parliamentary traction. Her lawyer reportedly called it a credibility chess problem. Every square is on fire. To test public waters, Rachel released a lo-fi acoustic cover of You Must Love Me on YouTube. Single take, shaky iPhone video, no makeup, eyes glossy. Comments poured in. This is the Rachel I fell for. Give her a break. Still tone-deaf about history. The like-to-dislike ratio tilted positive, but ratio charts don't stand outside stage doors with pitchforks. Meanwhile, rival producers sniffed opportunity. Rumors placed her on a shortlist for a Hulu limited series about a 1970s rock icon. Another studio floated a voice-acting gig in a Pixar spinoff. No balconies required, just a microphone in Burbank. Career lifeboats were circling, but which one she grabbed would rewrite the headline from canceled to comeback. Agents cited two precedents. Robert Downey Jr. turned arrest reports into Iron Man billions. Vanessa Hudgens rebounded from a scandal with Broadway and Netflix hits. Both comebacks relied on a tightrope, public contrition plus undeniable talent. Rachel has talent in buckets, contrition less clear. And the timer is ticking. Jamie Lloyd's production schedule lists a 6-month run. Sundance selection notifications drop in November. Vogue's October issue closes copy in August. Every calendar square flashes decision points. Pick wrong and exit stage right into obscurity. Pick right and rewrite the script of her own narrative. But whether her gambit succeeds no longer depends solely on ticket sales or streaming numbers. It now hinges on a bigger question. Will London forgive? And will global audiences even remember what sparked the storm once the next trending outrage rolls in? Pop culture loves a redemption arc, but it loves a downfall just as much and usually faster. Rachel Zegler now balances between both, arms outstretched like the very balcony that set this saga ablaze. Behind her, a trail of viral fist pumps, leaked texts, and six-figure petitions. Ahead, an indie film lifeline, a possible public mea culpa, and the uncharted territory of whether theater purists can let go of a perceived insult. London's West End is older than Hollywood, prouder than Broadway, and perfectly willing to ice out anyone who disrespects its ghosts. If Rachel rides out the run, tempers may cool and the balcony routine might someday be hailed as avant-garde. If she exits early, the legend will calcify. A TikTok-era star who crashed against tradition. Either scenario teaches a lesson to every rising artist. Social media can crown you overnight, but a single off note in front of a live audience can echo longer than any algorithmic applause. So where do you stand? Is this saga a cautionary tale about ego or proof that art must evolve even when it offends? Drop your verdict in the comments. subscribe for the inevitable sequel, and keep your notifications on, because whether Rachel Zegler's next act is triumph or tragedy, the final curtain hasn't dropped, and the spotlight is still burning.